Hi, it's Kamon, Reynolds, and we're checking some splits. We introduced some queens from Michael Palmer in Vermont. If you want to see how we made up these splits, we got a video right here. We made them first week of August. And of course we're in Tennessee, so where you're at, it might be too late for this kind of small split. Or maybe you still have another month or two to make splits like this. Just depends where you're at and what's going on. If you're in Hawaii, it's always splitting season. We hate you, you know that. And you know who I'm talking about, Zach, if you're watching this video. Anyways, let's get into this hive before I say anything else stupid. Alright, so we don't need to give them a whole lot of smoke. Now, you'll notice that there's only 3 frames in here. And when we make the splits, we don't make, give them just tons of space. We don't make the splits really big. Our main concern is getting plenty of nurse bees and creating an environment that obviously accepts our queen. That's the main thing. If it's a good queen and she's got a good cohort of nurse bees, they're going to just start going forward, and then at that point we can give them some drawn combs. I have drawn combs that we'll be giving these nukes once we've confirmed that the queens are accepted and laying. Once the queens are laying, things are usually pretty good from there on out. Especially since these splits are 99.9% nurse bees. But we also need to make sure they get plenty of nutrition. The fall flow is going to start up. Hopefully it'll be good. So far it's shaping up really well. Good moisture in the ground, but these young little colonies will not be able to take advantage of it like the big boys. I guess I should say big girls. There she is right there. You can see the little pastel blue mark for 2020. She's really swollen up since she was in the cage. We did a slow introduction. I put the queen cages in here, left them in for 2 days, and then 2 days later I came back in and just popped the cork on them. I wasn't in any rush. It's a little bit more labor intensive and probably unnecessary. I'm seeing a lot of nice larvae down in there. You can still see some capped brood from what was introduced. Let's see if I can get some of these out of the way. Yeah, there's some larvae down in there in that center frame. Let me know if you can see that, Laurent. Try to get those bees blown out of the way. But all we need is a couple good frames of brood of hers to emerge, and then they're off to the races. Now, if they had to draw their own combs, that would be a very different story. It takes a lot of work for bees to draw a comb, especially in times of the year like this where it's just not as easy. The spring makes everything much better here. Alright, now the main thing is, with any box, but especially like jesters, sometimes the side walls kind of bow in. The last thing you want to do is have your queen on that edge when you're putting this down in there. So there she is up top. I'm going to drop that in and set that to the side. I probably should have brought some drawn combs to give them. We'll be feeding through this top hole right here with sugar syrup and just checking their weight. They've got to have incoming resources. Young colonies can go forward quickly with a good queen, but even with a great queen, they can go backwards really quickly if they run out of proteins and fats or sugar, whether it's from nectar, natural sugar, or from sugar syrup. So I don't know, yeah, there's a lot of good looking larvae down in there. There's a young fuzzy bee from the nurse bees we put in. Now's also a good time to treat with oxalic acid vapor. Now that the queen is laying, there's still some capped brood, so probably treating about right now that the queen's been accepted. And then I'd come back probably in 3 to 5 days and do it again. You don't have to use oxalic acid, but definitely don't use anything that's like essential oils or thymol, formic acid especially. I don't like that. Those strong smells are going to mess up the whole pheromone dynamics of everything. So we've got 2 frames right here, and there's just brood, larvae, eggs, and same thing. And that frame was pretty much the same. And if we can get 2 frames that are 60 to 70% full each, when that emerges out within the next 3 weeks, this is pretty much all food. then that's going to be awesome. And what we need to do is just in the meanwhile is to do everything that we can to make sure that they can maintain those 2 frames. Give them a comb here, give them a comb over here. She'll start laying in one of the other ones. We'll feed them. They'll have plenty of nutrition coming in, and there's just not going to be any stress for this colony at all. And here in Tennessee, you know, we'll keep feeding them. Shoot, if we have to feed them all the way into December, we'll do that. That's a nice thing about having thick syrup that, you know, doesn't spoil on you. You can water it down during periods like this, but I mean, if you have an inverted jar or bucket or something, you can feed it to a colony in December here. No problem. So we're just going to put this back together. I'll come back to this hive later and check and make sure that they've gotten those combs that they really need. Put a feed quart jar on top and I'm going to feed this pollen patty. They're going to eat this quickly because this is all nurse bees. They're looking for this stuff. There's not a ton of pollen coming in right now. They've actually started messing around with the ultra bee that I leave in the shed. So ragweed's fixing to bloom real shortly, and then they'll ignore all that stuff. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Just a little short one on what our splits look like and kind of what we're looking forward to.